Week 4 of the NFL season, we are back. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on all platforms. Link in the description below for Spotify, Discord, Noah's social media accounts of him holding his girlfriend's hand, and my social media accounts as well. Before we get into the NFL, because as everybody knows, Noah is the resident Penn State fan, Penn State Nittany Lions fan, and this weekend we go to State College, Pennsylvania, and Oregon and Penn State square out number 3 versus number 6. That was the rankings at the time, correct? Or is that current rankings?
No, that was correct.
Okay, for number 3 versus 6, biggest game of the season. 7:00 at night, whiteout. The weakest home field advantage in all of sports is the whiteout, and now we have a situation where there's a narrative going around, not a narrative, fact. Out of James Franklin's mouth itself about his lackluster record against top opponents in college football. First, what did you think about this game, and where are you at with James Franklin's 4-21 record versus top 10 opponents following the loss to Oregon?
So I'll start off with everything leading up to this game there was red flags throughout the first 3 games for Penn State. They played 3 teams that they should have just beaten the shit out of. And more in depth about those games is like that just wasn't how it panned out. They won those games, but you saw how Oregon was handling some of these teams in their first few games. They were putting up like 60 points a game. So there's already those red flags to start to lead into this game. And then on top of it, Penn State comes out and plays the 3 of like the most scared, soft, uninspired on the offensive side, at least, football that we've come to know truly in these types of games. So the narrative, which is no longer a narrative, it is factual. I had more confidence that they would come in and look better than that. I thought that they would be able to flip somewhat of a switch offensively and look more coherent and more in rhythm than they did in those first 3 quarters. But there's no excuses for this anymore. He can't get it done in these big games. This was the best offensive line. We heard it all offseason. Best offensive line that they've had all in his time there. The defense was great. I have no qualms with the defense besides one little thing. But at the end of the day, I think the defensive side of the football is fine. But the offense looked like they didn't practice for 2 weeks leading up to the game. And so not even on top of the loss, just looking so unprepared is equally as frustrating as losing another one of these big games. And I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it for years. I hate Penn State, as you know, no one knows. Like I didn't make fun of you after the game because, like you said, it was just kind of expected at this point. Like,
yeah, there's nothing to even make fun of me for because this is the outcome that we have like learned to know.
My weird feeling about all of this to start is just like, and I tweeted it like, the whiteout gets this like big, grandiose, like spoken about, like it's almost like mythical and it's amazing and all this stuff. Like, what's Penn State's record in whiteouts? If that's the biggest game, like, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but it feels like every time that there's a whiteout, it's a big game. Like, where's the home field advantage in this at all? Like, can they ever like spank somebody like in a whiteout environment and like make it sting? Like, it just feels like a very overhyped thing that gets used in these big time games. And that's spoken from a true hater perspective.
So they are 13-8 in the whiteout since they started doing it, which winning record, great. But they changed the whiteouts from the Michigans and Ohio States to the teams that are of lesser quality. So Minnesota was a whiteout. SMU last year was technically a whiteout, but like this was the first whiteout in probably 3 years or so where it's been a team that is as good or better than Penn State. And so, yes, it looks great. The atmosphere itself is phenomenal at whiteouts, but it doesn't make a difference when the coaching is incompetent and you're the worst team. It doesn't make a difference. Yes, it can, yes, the stadium is packed, 111,000 people, but like
but it'd be packed like that at any night game.
And what I was going to say is 111,000 people aren't going to cover up for bad coaching. That's not how
it should at some point.
It does. I wish it would, because they'd be undefeated and they would do a whiteout every game if it made up for bad coaching.
My next question for you here is like, what's next? Because I was calling for James Franklin's job like last year, and you were like, no, like you can't do that. What's the issue of like getting rid of a coach that like clearly the floor is safe? You know what I mean? Like this is but what's the difference of bringing somebody in that can like go and like snatch the crown, like snatch the title and be like, Penn State and State College is like the most premier college football program in the United States of America. Now that Saban's gone, obviously like Alabama has lost some games and they don't look as good. Georgia is probably in that.
They can't beat Alabama.
Yeah, they can't beat Alabama, but they're in that like hierarchy of like being able to like win a championship. Like why does Penn State err on the side of caution rather than being like, okay, like this coach, he's been here for a really long time and we have one Big Ten championship to show for it, and that's pretty much it. Why is there going to be a change made, or do you think that like this will be the outcome every single year for years to come, just because James Franklin can potentially get you into the college football playoff but still not get over the hump?
I think there's two things that I've been thinking about this every day since last week is what does the future look like? No, it's fine. Is what does the future look like for Penn State? And this is what I think some of the options are. So Pat Kraft, who is the athletic director of Penn State, has been phenomenal since he took over at the university. He cares about winning, which is the most important part of this entire thing. So I think if you ask him what he cares about, I think winning is first and foremost. Sure. And I think that there will be a certain point where he is like, okay, everything at Penn State is starting to line up. Like they just signed a big deal with Adidas. They have a great fan base. All these other sports are playing at a high level. Like, why can't we get this in order at Penn State? And the common denominator is the head coach. And so I think there could potentially be a point down the road where if Pat Kraft is tired of just missing the mark as a university, I think there is a path that ends up with James Franklin no longer being the head coach at Penn State, because we've seen the record. You know that he's proven time and time again that he can't win the big one. That's one path. The other path, I think, is the recruiting path for Penn State. They've put together like 10 to 15 as far as like rankings in college recruiting. That is where they usually finish at the end of the season. The other path is just, fuck it, we're going to just try and have the players and the talent override the poor coaching. And I think that's I think there's really only two. There's three. The third one is he just sticks there and everybody's okay with winning 10 games because they're afraid of losing maybe 3 in order to sacrifice a year or two to take the next step. I think they just go out and they just start giving bread to every single 5 and every single 4-star, because there was a report that came out after that there was like 200 something high level recruits at this game, and there's 4 of them in the state of Pennsylvania that are within the top 15 that are crystal ball to Penn State. And so I think 3 of the 4 are 5-star kids. So there's that path where they just have too much talent that they out-talent the other teams out there on the field that are the Oregons, that are the Ohio States, that are the Michigans, because they'll have equal talent. And now you can win games that way, but you win more games by having as good of talent and as good of coaching. I think that's a route. I think there's a route where it's Franklin stays there, and then my third is they buy him out, but that's an expensive buyout.
I have to push back on this talent thing, because like I hear every single season from all the Penn State fans is like, this is the most talented roster we've ever had. This
year it is, yes.
But I hear that every single year. Then you guys bring in Kolovnicki or whatever the hell his name is 2 seasons
that
ago,
guy
I think
sucks.
it was, last season, and everybody's like, oh my god, this guy is a play caller. He's gonna like unlock this team, like blah blah blah, this, that, and the third. The list of quarterbacks since James Franklin has shown up to State College has been a very unimpressive list of quarterbacks. We have Christian Hackenberg, who never played a snap in the NFL. You have Trace McSorley, who has played a snap in the NFL and won the Big Ten championship. And the fact that he has been the most successful quarterback out of all of them is like actually kind of shocking at this point. But he was a good college quarterback, and he did carve out a lane for himself in the NFL. So shout out to him. But I think even anybody who watches football like can sit here and be like, okay, there was clear limitations to Trace McSorley being like an ultra quarterback talent. I mean, he was just white and small. So that's what I'm getting at here.
Didn't have like the strongest arm.
Yeah, he wasn't like a pure pocket passer. He was like a smaller white guy who kind of relied on like athleticism a little bit more than like you would probably like as a quarterback. Then you probably have legitimate, like on paper, the best quarterback in Penn State history, and Sean Clifford. He was bad the entire time. He just wasn't that good the entire time.
For Will Levis at one point.
Yeah, he wasn't good when he was there, and now he's a third string or whatever in the NFL. So again, good for him. And then now we have Drew Aller, who got there in 2023 to now 5-star. Everybody said that he was going to be like the next best thing. And he has not gotten any better since he's been at Penn State. So why should I sit here and, okay, that's fine. You can get all the 4 and 5 stars that you want. They're clearly not doing a great job at developing talent. And it starts with the quarterback position, because I know that you're going to say like, well, on defense, they put guys in the NFL, this, that, and the third. I'm strictly talking from the quarterback position, which is the most important part. Like, none of these guys have been like, the fact that you have been a top 10 team pretty much the entire time that you've been the head coach, and you haven't put one guy in the NFL who has been like a top 5 like pick, like that's a red flag in my opinion. Like, why can't they get this quarterback position right? And do you think that they have fumbled Drew Aller's development because he hasn't gotten any better?
No. The quarterback position has been a house of cards since Trace McSorley left Penn State. I think at first the Kotelnicki signing I obviously was excited about it because of how bad the offense looked the year before. You bring in Kotelnicki, who is a guy that had success in the Big 12 and had those 2 quarterbacks at Kansas where they made things look relatively easy for those quarterbacks there. And I don't think he has made it relatively easy for Drew. But on the flip side, I don't think Drew's making it easy on himself, because there's times where you see him play and it's like, okay, you should be able to make that throw. Why are you like, what are you looking at in this play? Like that double overtime interception One, I don't know what the play call was because I don't know why anybody tries to shove a bunch into the boundaries and run two guys on a post and a wheel up the short side of the field. But for Drew to throw the football into the short boundary like that, into a very condensed space, like, what are you looking at? Because that's a development thing. That's not an offensive coordinator issue. That is a Drew Aller issue. And like
it is. It really is.
Like,
go ahead. Sorry.
I just don't think that they had, and it's clear they haven't been able to develop anybody from the quarterback perspective since Trace McSorley left. Like, they maximized Trace McSorley they got everything they could out of Trace McSorley.
He was a gamer.
And
he was a gamer.
Yes. And I don't think they developed Sean Clifford very well because I think he had a chance to be I know he broke a bunch of records, but that's because he was in school for 15 years. But
yeah.
I think he had another shot to be a solid college quarterback, pretty athletic, threw a decent football, and just never developed. And here we are going on another Will Levis too. Will Levis was a high level guy coming out of high school, and he had a fucking cannon and also a freak athlete. Couldn't put it together. Here we are with Drew Aller, number one quarterback in the country. Gets all these Josh Allen comparisons. 6'5", has a cannon, but just cannot put it together. And I think it is a indictment on the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator, but also Drew Aller deserves blame too.
I think James Franklin, I don't know what it is because it's the James Franklin vortex. Because if you look, like Tommy Stevens was another guy that was there. He's in the CFL now, but he was never that good. You brought up Will Levis. Will Levis is a disaster. He was supposed to be a first round pick, fell to the second. And then lastly, and I wanted to bring this up to you, I can't say his name. I sound like
Bo Prabula.
Thank you. This weekend, like everybody was like, after it happened, everybody was like, oh, like thank God, like, but we kept Sean Clifford instead of Bo, like blah blah blah. And it's like, well, I just watched Bo against UMass this past weekend, and he did not look very good. And it feels like as a litmus test for everyone across the world, like go and watch a quarterback against the UMass defense, which is one of the worst in the entire country. And if you don't light it up, I'm gonna have some questions about you. And he looked really bad against that defense. So I'm even sitting here thinking like he might have brought like more athleticism.
Oh, great. I just got an update that the top Penn State defender, Tony Rojas, will be missing a significant time with a long-term injury. That guy was probably like the third best player on our defense. So that's good.
Do you think that this season's over? And to round out, not over like completely. And my last question after that you can answer is, if you guys get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, do you think that there is any sort of talk, any sort of possibility that James Franklin could potentially be out the door with a first round loss to a team in the college football playoff?
Well, to be fair, there's a world where they don't even make it, because
if they don't make it,
it has to be a legitimate conversation if they don't make the college football playoff, with how much it's expanded and the amount of hype that this football team had coming into this season. All these guys coming back, all of the preseason talk about how good they were going to be. They have 7 offensive linemen that they feel confident they could start. The offensive line had looked like shit for 15 quarters this season. So I don't know what's going on with that, but there has to be a legitimate conversation if there is a first round exit, or if they don't even make it. This team has too much talent. Obviously that injury hurts, but there's still too much talent that came back for this team to not even make the playoff. So completely. We'll see. They have to play Indiana, and they have to play Ohio State, and there's a world where they legitimately lose to Indiana.
We will update everybody with a wellness check. No, you're clearly upset. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think everything that you said is extremely fair. Let's move on to the NFL here. I just want to start with this. This past weekend of NFL football might have been one of the worst weekends of NFL football that I've ever witnessed with my own two eyes. There are a ton of backup quarterbacks playing already. The
It's insane.
offenses all stink pretty much, and it's just really rough viewing experience. And then the game that they needed to really pop, Green Bay and Dallas, which it did, 40-40, you go into overtime, but then the game
Well, there was
ends in
two.
a
There was two
tie.
games. There was two games that they needed to pop. I think.
What was the other one? Baltimore,
I
Kansas
think.
City.
Yeah, I think that's a game that you circle on the schedule before the season starts, where it's like if you're what was it on CBS? If you're CBS
Yeah.
that are like, oh hell yeah, we have this game this week, like that's a high expectation game.
I was speaking from the angle of consuming all of the football on the weekend and then going into
Okay.
that night game. It was like this game needs to perform, or like this is
Okay.
like one of the worst weekends ever. And the game goes to overtime, and then I feel like as entertaining as the game was, as high variance as the game was from points perspective. The fact that this game ended in a tie, like, just really did not sit right with me personally, and it felt like we kind of got robbed of like what could possibly be. So all of the overtime changes that got made sounds good, great. Everything seems to be good on that front. Why can't the NFL just one thing that college football just has down to a T is their overtime rule is legitimately perfect. So why can't the NFL just do the college overtime rule? Because that is the best form of overtime football. Am I high?
Even if I like it personally, but even if you're somebody out there that doesn't like the college overtime rule, there's no reason in 2025 that an NFL football game should end in a tie. I saw
Yeah.
your tweet about it. I legitimately think that is the worst part of the NFL is that you small risk that there or the small chance that there is a tie. There should be zero. It should be 0%.
Yeah.
There is no reason that there should be a tie in a pro sporting event as big as the NFL. This is America's sport, and you're having there's ties. That makes no sense.
No. Well, and also like I just feel like out of all the viewing experiences, I guess would be the better question to ask you, like NBA, college basketball, everything like across the board, like either like penalty kicks for like soccer, like during like
Yeah,
the World Cup is like lit, and then like college overtime for football is like it's perfect. Like I don't
yeah,
see what the issue is. Both of you guys have an opportunity to score, kick the extra point, and then after the second overtime, you have to go for two every single
yeah,
time. And
yeah,
that just allows for either the defense to step up, or at that point, the defense is usually pretty gassed. And then it's just like the quarterback and the offensive coordinator dialing up their best scoring plays, and we get to watch some like fun football happen. So like there's really no downside. And I feel like weekend was just like it was rough. I would just deem it a major L, especially capped off with a tie in this Dallas Green Bay game.
yeah. You talked about the backup quarterbacks. I'm just going through everything right now, and we got Carson Wentz in Minnesota to start us off on Sunday morning, and then Marcus Mariota in Washington, Joe Flacco in Cleveland, not a backup but not good. Jackson Dart made his rookie debut for the Giants, and then Cooper Rush comes in the Baltimore game, and then we end up with a tie. And then on top of that, we got two Monday night games where I know that the Dolphins and the Jets was a one possession game. That game sucked.
Yeah.
So just an overall brutal week, but there's no reason that we should ever have a tie. The overtime rule in college, I think, is great. I like it. I am a fan of it. I think that it forces those teams who has like the mental toughness to lock in when you get past the point of having to go for two after you don't, you know what I'm trying to say, like the 2-point conversion part of it. You have to be locked in, right? And if you're not, you're probably giving up a touchdown or giving up a 2-point conversion, and it's exhilarating as hell to watch. Every time that we get an overtime game in college football, it normally is a phenomenal ending. So I don't know why the NFL refuses to adopt those types of rules or even come up with their own, because they think they're so much better than everybody else, which they are better than a lot of other leagues in the world. But this is one of their huge fatal flaws is not adopting some type of overtime rule.
I felt like the overtime rule before the one that we had now was like better. I said it before the season started. Like, I didn't like mind the fact that like, okay, like if you get the ball, like you go down and score and the game's over, or the defense steps up like and you get the ball and go down. I didn't like hate that model, and whatever's going on now, it's just gone way too far. And I want to talk specifically about the Green Bay Dallas game, because we had a really great game on our hands like the entire time. Me and you are not. Everybody's so shocked whenever Dallas shows up. Dallas is a top 5 offense by every metric. They're going to be. Dak was flawless the other night. He played so.
Yeah, he was throwing dimes.
Whenever the Dallas Cowboys show up and like have a good week. So I had a great time watching that game. On the other side of things, like, what was Green Bay doing at the end of the football game when they get the ball back? And why did they sit there and say, all right, we're going to play for the tie? I had some people in fantasy. I had Dontavian Wicks and Josh Jacobs in fantasy. I ended up pulling out the dub. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get another chance in the end zone here. Like, let's go. And they just decided at a certain point that they were just going to bleed all the time off the clock. And then to get to the point where you run a play, you're lined back up on the ball, and they're lucky that the clock stopped directly at 1. Otherwise, they're sitting here with a loss. What was going on with Green Bay towards the end of this football game with their clock management? And why did they play for a tie rather than trying to go and win it?
Dude, I was wondering the same exact thing. I don't understand why they were so like conservative / uninterested in trying to score. I'm looking just back through like the time stamps from that overtime, and they had the ball at the Dallas 40-yard line. Sorry. Short pass to the middle to Dontavian Wicks to the Dallas 25 for 15 yards. That is at the 2-minute warning. I don't understand.
With timeouts.
What? Yeah, they had a timeout.
Timeout and the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, so you go into the 2-minute warning with the football on the Dallas 25-yard line. Why the hell wouldn't you try to score there? Why is there no sense of urgency of trying to get into the end zone? Your next play was a 6-yard pass, 7-yard pass. So now you're sitting on the Dallas 12-yard line with 52 seconds left.
It's crazy.
I don't understand what they were doing.
It's crazy. I mean, I was sitting there and I was like,
and LaFleur's a great coach. What was he high?
I don't know. I was sitting there and because I was like chirping in fantasy because I was having like a big night because I had Josh Jacobs and George Pickens on my team. And George Pickens goes and scores that first touchdown. And I'm like, Dontavian.
Great game by George Pickens.
Yeah, I started Dontavian Wicks. And I'm like, oh, Dontavian Wicks is going to score the game-winning touchdown, and I'm going to score 200 points this week. And they just started like slowing the pace down, and then they run the play, and then they bleed like 28 seconds off of the clock to go to the 2-minute warning. And I was like, what's happening right now? And why did they just opt to do that? Because they could have got 2 plays off there, had the 2-minute warning, and then had a timeout to use. And like you said, they were already at the 25-yard line. What an absolutely like, I'm almost like worried about the Green Bay Packers after this weekend.
Same.
Like, not worried about their defense, not worried about their offense. Like, that was like that clock management shit. Like, whenever a coach starts getting into that mode of like weird clock management, I like start to like genuinely worry.
He went brain dead for 2 minutes, like 2.5 minutes. LaFleur went brain dead, and they tied this game. This was a lot. Like, this was a loss in my eyes. I understand it's a tie, but like, there was plenty of time plus timeouts left, plus field position, all working in the Green Bay favor that should have resulted in a touchdown. But I don't even know what was going through LaFleur's mind the last 2.5 minutes of this overtime. It was really weird. And I think it is concerning because that's not like a typical thing that we would see from him because he's a great coach. But I don't know. Maybe the Dallas air was getting to him. I don't know what it was.
Jerry World was getting to Matt LaFleur that night. But no, I just even to have like that opportunity of like the clock to potentially go to 0 as you're throwing it out of the back of the end zone, it was like, bro, what the hell are you guys doing right now? Stop, like, take the time out, like reset, do whatever. That's not what happened. And they really dodged one here because like I consider it a loss as well. That was a bad like end of game for them where it felt like, okay, you guys can go and win this football game and everything's going to be good in Green Bay world. Like, but that's clearly not what happened here. So I just wanted to see what you thought about all of this. Sorry, my dad just texted me. See what you thought about all this, because I thought I was laying in bed, my shirt off, in my underwear, sitting straight up, sweating, and I was like, okay, like, what are they doing? Because I had Green Bay money line in a parlay too, of course. And right. I was like, score. Like, what are you doing? Score in my bed, sweating my ass off. Like, and I'm like, okay, like they're not going to score. They're playing for the tie. Luckily it got voided, but I didn't know if I was the only person who felt that way about the Green Bay Packers game, because it was like, they're just literally taking a massive L right now.
I understand that there's like probably scenarios where you play for the tie. Like if you have the ball on your own 30-yard line with like 1 minute left, maybe, and maybe less than a minute and one timeout, like that might be a scenario where you're just trying to get in field goal range. But for them to play for a tie in this scenario is like the biggest coward play that we've seen at this point of the season.
No doubt.
So I don't know. That's something to keep in mind with Green Bay moving forward, is just that type of coaching blunder. And maybe it was just a one night like weird thing, but normally when something weird happens, it doesn't come in the form of this. Like it comes in the form of like going for it on like a weird fourth down, like being a little too aggressive. And with the way that the NFL's been, it seems like teams are getting more and more aggressive, and the Green Bay Packers just played completely opposite of that down the stretch here in this game. So now you're Green Bay, you're sitting there with a tie to Dallas and a loss to the Browns, and you haven't sniffed a win in 2 weeks. Like, I understand it's early. By no means am I writing them off, but like, no. It's been a weird 2 weeks if you're Green Bay.
Yeah, lost to the Browns, lost to the Cowboys, which, if you were to ask majority of the people in the NFL, those are probably two teams that you should probably go out and beat. So
if you are a team that is the Super Bowl favorite, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm right with you. To transition into something completely different, doesn't have anything to do with the game, doesn't have anything to do with football, really. It kind of does. Did you see today the media asked Shedeur Sanders what he thought about Dylan Gabriel getting the start And Shador Sanders then went full mime and
Yeah, that
started
was
mouthing words and didn't say anything to the media and like smiling. Did Shador Sanders like huff glue as a kid or like get dropped on his head? Because like he is like actually like I'm gonna search. Hold on, real quick. I want to search how old he is, real quick. Like Shador
for
Sanders is 23 years old, and like he acts like he's 10, and everybody sat here and bitched, moaned, complained, said everybody was racist, the whole nine, because Shador
yeah.
Sanders fell out of the first, second, third, and fourth round and was a fifth round draft pick. And then he starts the season and he's acting like this. He's a backup. It, are we shocked at this point? Are people still shocked that this guy fell in the draft? Because he seems like a total knob.
And I think on top of it too, like I think Dion is like does a decent job in the media, like with his interviews and stuff like that. So like that part of it kind of surprises me that Shador would kind of act like this. Also, on top of it, you're a quarterback in the NFL that is also a grown man. So handling it that way and just going full mime is I couldn't even believe what I
Conservative
literally
choice.
turned my phone volume up the whole way multiple times to make sure
Yeah.
that I was hearing or not hearing this correctly.
I thought it was fake.
And on top of all of this, there was things that came out like last week or maybe earlier over the weekend or something that was like about how he turned down wanting to get drafted by the Ravens, and apparently the Eagles called him and wanted to draft him, and he said no because there was no clear path to becoming a starter. And I want to talk about just the Ravens piece of it too, because I think he still probably would have been the third string quarterback in Baltimore had they have drafted him. And Cooper Rush would still be the backup quarterback in this scenario. So I don't think it was as clear of a path as like people are trying to make it seem now on social media. But
Yeah.
that interview was probably handled as poorly as you probably could have handled it. I mean, just be a professional and say, yeah, Dylan outworked me, or Dylan has worked his ass off. Like, I'm excited for him to get this opportunity. I'm going to keep working until I can get mine. Call it a day. It's really not that difficult.
No. We said that we talked about this like in the summer. It was like these guys are getting interviewed to make millions of dollars and be a part of like $1 billion organization, one of 32 in the United States of America. And if there are any red flags, like, yes, it gets held against them, just as if like I were to interview for a job and went in there and started like mouthing words and not speaking, I wouldn't get the job. They'd be like, this dude is a psychopath.
He's crazy. He's crazy. He's literally insane.
So I think like let's plant our flag. Shador Sanders is clinically insane. There's something wrong with the kid.
Yeah, that is my flag is planted firmly on that island. Like I said, I had to watch this multiple times to make sure that I was seeing it correctly and hearing it correctly, because I don't know, he's always seemed like relatively like decent
Bubbly.
when it came to not bubbly. It seemed like he always seemed like relatively like decent when it came to like talking to the media and like things along those lines, with like kind of giving like quarterback generic answers. But this was really fucking weird.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so I don't foresee him being in the NFL much longer, like at all. Like there's something.
I don't either. I don't think so either. And it's even funnier that it's happening on the Cleveland Browns with just all of the quarterback misfortunes that they have had in the last 25 years, probably.
Yes.
So now they have to go into London and face the Vikings and a Brian Flores led defense with Dylan Gabriel making his first NFL start. I mean, that's not an ideal spot for Dylan Gabriel, if you ask me.
They are so cooked. So, yeah, I mean, they went out and lost to Detroit last week, and yeah, I mean they're screwed. There's no path for them not being screwed. Next thing I want to talk about, I usually film this solo, but to go backwards on this, Seattle at Arizona for the Thursday night football game. Seattle goes and wins 20-23. The reason why I want to bring this up is just because more coaching blunders and some other stuff too. I, of course, famously always go after wide receivers. I go after said wide receiver, and they go out and they play a pretty decent game. And it was really the tale of two halves for Marvin Harrison Jr., where the first half, he stops running a route. Kyler throws one to him across the middle. He stops running. Bad pick.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, there was a lot of discourse around that, like, oh, that was a bad pick from Kyler or blah, blah, blah. I view that as a clear miscommunication on Marv's part,
100%.
where he stopped running, where like, would he have caught that? Who knows? But it definitely shouldn't have gotten intercepted like that. But
no.
Then the second one, they hit Marv across the middle on a quick slant. How many times have I been begging for Marv to get a quick slant over the last
every week
year and a half? He gets
every
it
week.
finally. He turns upfield. He starts running. He bobbles it. It gets picked off. And it was like, wow, Marvin Harrison Jr. is legitimately broken and a generational bust. Then in the second half, he goes out and plays different, a little different. And then he makes a great touchdown catch over a defender in the back of the end zone, gets both feet down. And he needed that shit more than he like needed air, to be completely honest.
He did.
Him. And you could tell because he just like sat there for a second and was like, fuck, if I would have dropped that,
started crying.
I would have been cooked. So
yeah.
So the shots of just like Marv on the sideline looking completely dejected like the entire night. And it was a weird night for the Arizona Cardinals and the whole organization and Marvin Harrison Jr. Before we get into the game at all, where I'm still playing it on the flag of like, I really need to see more out of Marv. Like, I'm happy for him. He made a touchdown catch, but the first half of that game was so abysmal that it was literally to the point where it was like, holy shit, like this guy's like might not play in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, we were texting during it, and even just the offense too was like, what the hell is happening here? Because it was ugly from an offensive perspective, but Marv especially was like, he just seemed so disinterested, uninterested. It's uninterested. He seemed so uninterested at points in that first half where it was just like, get this guy out of there and like get somebody in there that wants to run a route.
Yeah, wants to play.
Yeah. So that part of it was very strange to see. I understand that being in the NFL is extremely difficult and you're not always going to have immediate success, but I like the way that he bounced back and played in the second half. It was nice to see him put together a much better second half than first half. But I still believe in Maserati Marv. I think Minivan Marv, Mitsubishi Marv. But I will say there was a GIF going around of him in training camp, like going to catch a football, and they blurred his hands like completely out. Which was pretty funny. But yeah, I need to see it stack up. Like he's got to start stacking up more games like he played in that second half.
Yeah, he should be playing like that all the time. So like, I don't want him to go out this upcoming week against one of the worst teams in the NFL and lay an egg. Is what I'm getting.
You have to call him out every single week.
So yeah, like I said, I'm like half, not even half. Like I'm like 25% back in on Marv after his bounce back. But I was like contemplating after the first half, like Marv's never going to play football in the NFL.
Yeah,
like, I was like, bad. He's just not good. Like there's something wrong with him. Now from the game perspective, you talked about it a little bit where the Cardinals have looked really bad offensively the entire year. I said it going into the week when we talked about it. I was like, I think people are going to be like relatively shocked about like how good the Cardinals defense is, even with like all of the injuries, like across the board, like in the secondary, in the defensive line, like everything. Like their defense is like an extremely solid group. And I feel like that they showed that in this game against the Seattle Seahawks, where it was like, okay, like this defense clearly has something on their hands here. So I'm happy with the defense. The offense still, like, even after going and scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter, it shouldn't take that long to get an offense rolling. So yeah, and so I'm still equally as worried about the offense as I was last week. And then now with Trey Benson headed to the IR, I mean, that's your first string running back gone 2 weeks ago, James Conner. Trey Benson, the second string running back, gone to the IR this week. And now you're down to DeMarcado and Michael Carter, and the run game already looks bad as it is. I mean, Kyler was their leading rusher on Thursday night with 41 yards. I mean, I just feel like not much is going to get better for this Arizona Cardinals offense.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about it, I even said, I was like, it just goes to show how important James Conner is to this offense, because it looked so incohesive at points throughout that game. Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, even though James Conner is not like the best running back in the NFL, he's been a workhorse for the Arizona Cardinals since he got there. And for them to go down him and then lose Trey Benson today, like, I'm expecting more of the same sort of clunkiness offensively without your first two running backs. Hopefully they can get it figured out. Hopefully Trey Benson's not on the IR for too long. Is it like a 5 game? How long is it?
4 to 6 weeks.
So they'll get him back at some point, but offense might be a struggle for these upcoming games. Now, good news for the Cardinals is you've got the next 6 games isn't great, but
I want to go into that first. Let's talk about this coaching blunder with the Arizona Cardinals towards the end of the game, because I want to hear what you got to think about this. Also, on the injury front too, still no Walter Nolan, still no Will Johnson. I mean, those guys are supposed to be really important guys for this team. Garrett Williams is on the IR too. That guy was supposed to be a guy who was going to take the next step this year. Just a lot of stuff that doesn't look great. So, with that being said, the end of game blunder that I'm talking about with the Arizona Cardinals is they go down and score. It's 20-20. You tie the game up. In my personal opinion, why not go for the kill? Because at this point, it feels like this is a win for the Arizona Cardinals. The fact that you were dead in the water, your top 5 pick at wide receiver, who was like borderline about to be out of the NFL, just made a big play, and you guys are back and everything's going well and everything's rolling in full motion. Why not roll the offense out there and go for that 2-point conversion rather than leaving it up to chance with whatever happened? We'll get to the kickoff in a second, but just in put ourselves in the after they score, whatever's going to go on the kickoff, whatever's going to happen when they get the ball back, and then on top of it, whatever could potentially happen on a coin flip and an overtime, the whole nine. Why allow all of the outliers that we don't know the answer to control not going for the 2-point conversion in that situation? And it just goes back, and real quick before you comment on that, goes back to the issue that I have with Jonathan Gannon with his passiveness as a head coach. And it dates back to the Vikings game last year when they dropped a bad one to the Vikings when they should have won, when they should have went for it on 4th down. Instead, they kicked the field goal. Those decisions now, that one last year, a few times last year, and then every game this year has put them in a really bad situation almost every single week. So before we get into the kickoff, do you think that they should have rolled over all of that energy, all of the shit that was going on with them? They clearly had the momentum into overtime, or do you think like, dude, screw it, like the fact that we're back in this game even remotely is a miracle? Let's just go for the kill shot, go for 2, and let's get the hell out of here.
I mean, I feel like he has a lot of confidence in the defense, and rightfully so. They played really well. So like I could see like him saying, all right, we're just going to, but I guess the flip side of that is like, you do get it. You're up. you get a stop, you win the game. And then you don't even have to worry about overtime.
There
The
wasn't any
alternative,
time left at the end
the
of the
alter,
game.
yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think I lean on GOAT. Like, you got off the bus tied, so like, I don't know. I'd rather lose a game like that rather than how they ended up losing this one. Um, Me personally, but yeah, I don't know. The passiveness from the coaching staff, from the offensive coordinator, has to change because it's costing them games at this point.
If they went for 2, they would have gotten the ball. The Seattle Seahawks would have gotten the ball back with 28 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
Now,
Yes. Down 21-20.
The flip side of things is the special teams unit with maybe the worst penalty of the entire day, where all you got to do is kick it deep. I don't know what
Yep.
happened, unless if you're kicking a squib every single time, and that's your go-to, and that's what's happening, then okay, go ahead and kick it. We live by it, we die by it. But to break out the squib kick, first things first, like the first time ever, with the game on the line, instead of it just kicking out of the back of the end zone, he then cost didn't kick it in the landing zone, and then the team gets the ball on the 40-yard line. Now they only need to go 20 yards to get a field goal rather than going 60 yards to have to go get a field goal with 28 seconds left. So at that point, as soon as that happened, it was over. As soon as that penalty happened, it was over. So, like I said, at that point, like the two going for 2 at that point would have been irrelevant anyway. So it was just like, one, I think there was 2 coaching blunders at the end of this game that I've been on the Cardinals all year about how bad their coaching has been, not going for 2 to put the game away, and then thinking that it was the best time to break out the squib kick at the end of the game, which cost them a penalty, which put the Seahawks on the 40-yard line where they only had to go 20 yards to go and kick the game-winning field goal.
Yeah, the most important time of the game, you should probably stick with the plays that you feel good about, and breaking out a brand new squib kick is in the fourth quarter with 28 seconds left in a tie game is certainly not the time or place. So that is unacceptable from a coaching perspective. They just shot themselves in the foot. And if you're the kicker too, like, have a set of nuts and be like, okay, I understand, like, you have to have certain confidence as a kicker, or as anybody in the NFL, right? But maybe say to him, hey, like, I haven't really done this a ton. Like, let's just pin him deep. I don't feel great about doing this type of squib kick. And obviously I'm not blaming the kicker 100%, but he deserves some of the blame for sure. Don't get me wrong. Because at the end of the day, he's the one that he's the one that's kicking the football. But if you don't feel good about it, speak up, son. So it just so happened that the worst coaching play of the game came right at the very end.
That's it.
It hurts to lose games like that too, because you're not even giving yourself a shot at that point. Like, you don't even get to take it to overtime and have the football in your hands, have your defense get a stop. Like, you're basically just saying, all right, here you go. Start at the 40. You need 20 yards. Good luck. That's a lot of pressure to put on a defense.
Very much so. And just real quick, because I'm not going to record another video for the Cardinals since we just talked about it, but this week they play the Tennessee Titans and they're 8.5-point favorites. That makes zero sense. The fact that, I get it, the Titans have stunk. They haven't been very good, but neither of the Cardinals. And the fact that they're 8.5-point favorites is scary to me. I could see the Tennessee Titans being that is a bet that I will be making this weekend, is Tennessee plus 8.5. Tennessee money line, sprinkle the money line. Not something I love to do, but just all of the defensive injuries, and then now they're on their 3rd and 4th string running back. Like, I think it's just probably a real possibility that the Cardinals can go out and drop a game at home to one of the worst teams in the NFL, and then I think the sky will be falling a little bit.
What do you think ends up happening if they go out and lose to Tennessee?
I don't think anything, unfortunately. I don't know what I don't know what their expectation was going into the season other than like we got to make the playoffs. And I truly think that Gannon is so conservative and so passive that he's like, okay, let's just get to 9 wins. If we can just get to 9 wins, we'll be completely fine. And now they're at a point now where it's like the injuries have stacked up so heavily on both sides of the football where it's like
Yeah.
a built-in excuse a little bit where it's like, okay, like, well, what did you expect to happen like this week? Like we're down to our third string running back. We have practice squad guys playing corner for us. Like stuff like that where it's like what there's built-in excuses now for the Arizona Cardinals at this point in the year, which do I personally think that's fair to make? I don't. I'm actually pushing back on that fully. But I guess that's kind of the world that they are living in.
I mean, what I was going to say is like, I understand injuries happen, but there gets to be a certain point where you know what your head coach is. And regardless of injuries, you know if he's good or bad, I feel like.
He's
And
bad.
I think Cardinals fans, I think you have a pretty good grasp on what he is as a head coach at this point. So I don't really know. Like, I don't think that the injuries are necessarily a fair excuse. Now, if this was his first year, yeah, sure, I would give him some more grace, but I don't know. He hasn't really shown anything to prove that he's a good head coach up to this point.
I am all the way out on Jonathan Gannon. So
yeah, that's fair.
To move on here, I'm just gonna go over some games here real quick that just happened. Pittsburgh obviously squeaked out the win over the Minnesota Vikings against Carson Wentz, 24-21. Washington at Atlanta. Atlanta wins 34-27. New Orleans at Buffalo. Buffalo wins 31-19. Detroit beats Cleveland. We talked about this. The one that I wanted to talk about just real quick and touch on, Drake May and the New England Patriots go out and win 42-13. Drake May has been my fantasy football
QB.
MVP this season. He's got 9 touchdowns already. He does make stupid plays like here and there and has turnovers, and you kind of have to take your lumps with it. Big week for the New England Patriots. They start the game with a defensive touchdown, and then it was kind of just like all the way in from there. So I think, did we add the Carolina Panthers to our cross-off list?
I'm pretty sure if we didn't, I don't know why we didn't, because they're done. I'm fairly certain we did though.
We did not. So
because they beat the Falcons last week.
My question for you is: are you fine with crossing off the Carolina Panthers?
Yep.
Okay.
They're done. All. Yeah.
I'm keeping it up. We'll make a list. We'll do another episode again where we go over the list. But
so does the Carolina Panthers, in order for Bryce Young to be good, does he have to get benched after like 3 games every year? Andy Dalton come in for like 2 to 3 games, get into a non-life threatening car crash, and then Bryce Young's good again?
So I was thinking about that. Is this roster even slightly good? Like we felt good about it like coming in, obviously, and it was like, okay, like is he going to be good this year? Like he's got Ted, he's got Adam Thielen, like he's got all these guys. Well, like Adam Thielen got traded, Coker's on IR, 2 of their offensive linemen are down bad. Chuba Hubbard wasn't at practice today, and
they can't run the football.
It's just like they are a shell of an offense. So not that I'm giving them excuses. It's just like who would succeed in a situation like this? This roster is already dealing with a bunch of injuries and pretty barren. Like,
yeah, it's pretty ugly. I will say though that like I don't necessarily hate the combo of Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, but I don't love the receiving options that they currently have outside of Tet. I mean, it's pretty ugly. And on top of that, they can't even run the football. Chuba Hubbard had 10 carries for 49 yards. I mean, I know that that's a 4.9 yards a clip, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they just can't move the football sufficiently up and down the field.
No, not at all. To move on, we got to talk about it. Jackson Dart. First off, everybody who was on social media being like, everybody's real quiet that Justin Herbert dropped a game to the New York Giants. It's like, okay, well, like the Packers dropped a game to the Cleveland Browns last week. Like, it was like we should just look for on Sundays, like, what is the most obvious 1 o'clock drop spot of all time? Because it's like, I said this too, like last week. I've been like making a killing on betting college football. And then when Sunday at 1 o'clock rolls around, I get legitimately cleaned out. And I'm done betting on the 1 o'clock football games. I just think that unless if I love the spot. But
of course.
but like I usually like not blindly bet them, but I will place like a decent amount of wagers down at 1 o'clock and like lock in. It's like I'm not liking what I see out of the 1 o'clock games, like at all. Anything can happen.
I know.
Some teams are if you're a West Coast, like for the Chargers.
Lost him.
Sorry, I cut out.
If you're a West Coast team,
yeah, if you're a West Coast team and you're coming out to New York, like for the Chargers, what's that that was like a 9 o'clock start time for them, or like a 10 o'clock start time for them.
10.
So they're waking up at like what 6 o'clock in the morning to start to get ready to play this football game. It's weird and like you just kind of like never know what will happen in a spot like that. It feels like so. But shout out to Jackson Dart to go out and get his first NFL victory. Obviously, Dayball was super fired up. I'm not overreacting. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it looked like Jackson Dart. It looked like Brian Daboll was gonna start trying to make out with Jackson Dart on the field.
Did. Or was that an AI video?
How'd you get that?
Well, I'm just like everybody stopped around them and they started making out. So I didn't know if it was AI or real, but no, I'm with you on the no, you didn't even say anything.
I have something to say about it.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, what I was gonna say is you mentioned it already that you're not going to overreact, and I'm not going to either because just the way that he played, he's a decent athlete and he was able to make some plays with his legs, but he was 13 for 20, 111 yards, didn't do anything impressive throwing the football. Their defense just won this game for them, basically. And we said it at the very beginning of the season that this defensive line is one of the best in football. And this was like a perfect storm for them where the Giants took a lead. Chargers had to fall back and start throwing the football, and throwing the football in a spot where they were playing from behind, where the New York Giants pass rush could just pin their ears back and just get after Justin Herbert, and they did exactly that. So I don't think that this is a sustainable path to success moving forward for the Giants, but good for them for getting this win. I think that Cam Scatabo is probably going to have CTE by the time this season is over. But it'll be fun to watch until then.
I'm not a scat guy at all, but
I don't think he's going to have a sustainable NFL career, but I will try to enjoy him while he's here.
Yeah, I don't like white people, but
okay.
I will say that, I mean, like Brian Burns leads the league in sacks with 5. Like he looks really good. So yeah, we said that the defensive line would be impressive, and you said it best, like perfect scenario for them. Philly at Tampa Bay. When everybody was all over Tampa Bay the entire week, being like, oh, like they have the Eagles number, like blah, blah, blah. I was like, the Eagles are winning this football game. I mean, it's just classic spot, but Bucks have too many injuries. Everybody's just too all over them. And ultimately at the end of the game, they kind of made a little bit of a comeback. I'm not going to sit here and dig too deep into that. At a point, like the Eagles are kind of just playing to have the game end a little bit. Not that it's okay to give up all of those points, but what are you supposed to do when you're up that much the entire game and it's starting to get to the close to the end and you're just pretty much just trying to like keep your guys like off the field, and they were playing soft coverages, the whole nine. We talk about this. You want to talk? That was garbage time. We talked about it last
Yeah,
week. That
it
was
was.
that was a garbage time run up where it was like the game was pretty much over the entire game.
Yeah, the Eagles started out right where they finished last game as far as like moving the football. They looked aggressive on offense. They pretty much were like, we're going to take care of our work early here. We're going to get up to a big lead, and then we're just going to sit on it the rest of the game. I was stressed at one point because the Bucks were scoring relatively quickly. They had a long touchdown to Ibuka and then another one to Bucky Irving. So like at that point, you kind of had to sit up in your seat and like lock in a little bit if you were Philly. But they got that interception in the end zone. They made a couple other stops along the way, pulled this one off. But I'm just glad that one, everybody came out of this game healthy, because it was like what everybody kept on talking about, like 105 degrees down there. It seemed like the Eagles were just straight up exhausted in that second half. So I'm just glad they got out of there healthy. They got out of there with a W because Tampa Bay has owned them, but they took care of business in the first half. I would love to see them like not get so lackadaisical offensively in the second half and defensively, because it seemed like it was like just a blown coverage on that long Ibuka touchdown, and then just bad coverage from a rookie on what is a top.
Wasn't even a blown
What?
coverage. Like it was like he just kind of fit the ball into a perfect. It looked like both defensive backs went to make a play on the ball, and
Yeah, it wasn't like wrong spot. Yeah, it wasn't wrong spot for those guys. It was just like, when I said blown coverage, I more so meant like that feels like a play that should have been knocked, like a ball that should have been knocked down. Credit to Baker, he fit it in a tight window, but the blown coverage was probably the Jahad Campbell covering Bucky Irving, and Bucky Irving just ran up the sidelines right by him. So like,
all praise to Allah.
That's a tough spot for any linebacker to be in, to have to guard Bucky Irving in open space. So I'm not too worried about that. Jahad Campbell's done a pretty good job in coverage this season and just has played well all year. So like, you're going to get moments like that happen on broken plays.
There's two more things I want to talk about, and I just saw a clip of this. I thought it was Bill Simmons actually who said it, and it definitely made me want to ask you what you thought. But this is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars go out and beat San Francisco 49ers on the road, 26-21. They're 3-1. We both picked them to win this division this year, but they're doing it in a way that is like the grossest possible way that you could ever win games. They stink. They're not fun to watch.
It's horrible.
Trevor Lawrence looks terrible. He looks like he can turn the ball over 15 times throughout the course of a game. Brian Thomas Jr. has stunk. And Travis Hunter, which is the person that I want to pretty much ask you about, is like, he's not good on offense. He's not good on defense. And it feels like at some point you have to commit him to one side of the football.
100%.
And I don't know what side that is. That's probably an internal conversation that you're going to have to figure out yourself. I would say defense, because their offense is so bad. It's like adding him to this offense clearly isn't doing anything as of now. So let's just put him on defense. Where are you at with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Like I said, we both picked them to win the division. So it is what it is. But where are you at with them in totality? And is there any panic meter on who Travis Hunter is in the NFL?
I'll start with who I think the Jags are. I honestly think it's like kind of fool's gold at this point, because they have they lead the league in turnover margin. I think they are averaging like 2.5 turnovers a game, which is crazy. Maybe even more. So do I expect that to maintain the rest of the year? No. However, I'll give them credit for being pretty solid defensively for the most part. So that I think plays, but offensively, they just like haven't looked good enough for me to say like, yeah, I think this team can win this division, because there will be a point where that turnover luck probably runs out. Now, it could run out at the end of the year, or it could run out in 2 weeks. We don't know. But as it stands, without the turnover luck, this team is a 1-win. They should be 1-3 rather than 3-1. But they're sitting here at 3-1. So we got to judge them for what they are. The Travis Hunter situation, you invested way too much in this guy for him to look like this at this point. I know it's been 4 games, but I agree with you. I think you have to make a decision and put him on one side or the other because he's not impactful on either side of the football at this point. And for a guy that you traded so much to get, he better be making an impact on one side of the ball.
Yeah. I don't even know. That's what I guess my question to you is like, what's your panic meter? I don't even know if panic meter is the right word other than just like organizational incompetency, which is like, I can't believe we're still having this conversation, even with another regime in the door with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it's like, you got to make a decision here because it's not working. The idea is just not working. Maybe it might work next year when he's more integrated in the offense and the team and the way that the NFL schedule works and the whole nine, like, everything that goes into it. But just this year alone, like put him in and let him play corner. He was such a gifted cornerback, like probably one of the best cornerbacks that we've seen in a long time. Like throw him in at corner and allow him to start to flourish because as of right now, like when you're asking him to do so much on both sides of the football, it's hard to, he's not, like you said, he's not flourishing on either. So like, I personally think that like, as of right now, like what's more important, every offense in the entire NFL pretty damn near like looks like shit. So like throw him on the defense and like that is where we're going to have to, where we have to like butter our bread pretty much is like try to win these games defensively.
He's the jack of all trades, but the master of none, as they say at this point. I will also point out that they did have a punt return touchdown in this game. Parker Washington, 87-yard punt return. So like great play, but is that something that you can realistically rely on every game to win like that's not a sustainable play every game is my point. So like they're getting really lucky these first 4 weeks. I don't think they're as good. If I had to do my 3-1 power rankings, they might be the worst 3-1 team in the NFL.
Oh, they have to be. Yeah. I mean, it's insane.
But yeah, my panic meter as far as Travis Hunter goes, like you were asking, it's not really on. It's just because it seems like this is a solvable problem. Like a panic meter to me is like there's no solution. Now we panic. But I think there is a solution, and it's putting him on one side of the football. Now, offense or defense doesn't matter to me. I think he'll be great at either one. But I think this first year, what they should have done is rather than doing this like 50-50 bullshit is picked and said, okay, you're gonna play defense, you're gonna play offense, and then had him go through like take practice reps at the other side and not necessarily worry about the game reps. Because if you think that he's that good on both sides of the football, what does 1 year of learning the offense or 1 year of learning the defense gonna do? Like, is it gonna stunt the growth of the other one that much to the point where like you don't think he's gonna be capable of learning the opposite of whatever he learned in year one? Because it seemed like they were really high on him, and if you're that high on a guy, you want him to be successful, and the route that they're putting him in right now is giving them no success in either path.
No, it's not. I mean, it's just not working. Like it's just clearly not working. So why don't we just, like you said, like what was he best at? I personally think he was best at corner. I think you think that he was best at wide receiver. Like I said, I think that defense is probably more important as of right now than anything else. So let's throw him in on defense and have him get a full season under his belt. And then when we move forward and we still think he's an uber talented guy, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? But right as of right now, like, yeah, it's sad to see what they've done with him. Again, it's super early. It's through 4 weeks, but like, I just felt like there would be a better plan at the beginning of the season than what they have right now for him.
Well, to be fair, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars that we're talking about, so we almost should have predicted it go exactly like this based off of how that organization has been run the last 8 years.
Well, you're right. I just thought that, like, again, I don't know why I always talk myself into it. Like, but they're 3-1. They're at the top of the division. The Colts are at the top of the division, but like every other team, like the Texans look like shit. The Titans are awful. Can the Colts regress a little bit with Daniel Jones? It's like the division's kind of theirs for the taking. So it's like they're in a spot, like, you know what I mean, to be able to make something happen. But who knows? I mean, I just wanted to see where you're at on that. The last thing that I want to talk about today, and then we can move on and be done with our days here, is the Baltimore Ravens go to Kansas City and they lose 37-20, where Patrick Mahomes throws for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns, which, I mean, when's the last time that's happened? I mean, this offense has been so dormant over the last few seasons that it's like I was like shocked watching him throw 4 touchdowns, and I was like, and I was playing him in fantasy. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But the Baltimore Ravens defense is like completely broken. The guys are so checked out. You have Marlon Humphreys on a podcast every single week. You have Kyle Van Noy on a podcast every single week. I tweeted it out today. Like, if I was running a football team and anybody had a podcast, I would not want them on my football team. If you feel like that you need to post a podcast, like, leave it to guys like us who like don't have other shit going on. Like, you have
that are not in the NFL.
You have a season to worry about. Like, if you can do it in the off season, but like if you have enough time, especially when you're getting your ass whooped, like the defense has been giving up like big yardage, big points,
every game,
and like you feel the need to go and like hit the record button and make a podcast. Like, I'm out on you guys. Like, save that shit for another time. And then the other side of the equation is the offense just hasn't looked that good through a few weeks. Derrick Henry has had a fumbling problem, and now Lamar has an injury where he's going to be missing a few weeks, potentially 3-4 weeks. Where's your panic meter at with the Baltimore Ravens? Because there's a part of me that sits here and is like, Lamar can come back and can they win 8 straight? Yeah, probably. Or is it like, is this defense just so bad it doesn't matter if Lamar Jackson is playing or not, they're just going to get torched? And my last question, and then you can talk, sorry. Why is this defense so bad? It makes no sense. Like, they have talent all over the board on this defense, and they just don't look good in any way, shape, or form.
Well, so I'll start with the defense. They're very banged up as well. Like, Nate Wiggins came out of that game. They just lost their defensive tackle, Matabuke,
with a neck
for the season, right? Yeah, won't return the rest of the season. So like, they're really banged up defensively. So I'll take that and put that into my overall consideration of the Ravens defense. Second thing is, their defense looked bad for the first few weeks of last season, and then just flipped a switch and were the best defense in the NFL for like the last 3 quarters, last half of the year. What I will say is, I don't think that this defense is going to be able to get to that point that they were like last year where they flipped a switch and were good. I think these injuries are starting to stack up, and my panic meter overall for this Ravens team is teetering between like yellow and red, because do I think that Lamar can come back and they win 8 straight, like you said? Absolutely. But that's an extremely tall task, especially if the rest of your team is going to be banged up, and if this defense doesn't flip a switch and remember that they're extremely talented. So my panic meter is on medium to high alert for the Baltimore Ravens at this point. Nothing has gone in their favor, and at this point, it's trending that this is the season from hell for them.
Yeah, losing Matabike obviously like matters a ton. Losing Nate Wiggins matters a ton. Losing Lamar matters the most. Like it's just they're really in a rough spot, and I don't know what this means fully, but just to have Patrick Mahomes, who has just not looked great throwing the football, to go out and look good throwing the football is just like, damn, like that is just like a tell-all sign. It's like this defense is actually shambles.
Yeah, it's not good if Patrick Mahomes has looked the best that he's looked in 2.5 years against you. He did get Xavier Worthy back. I mean, he looked fine, but I don't know. I'd be nervous if I was a Ravens fan at this point.
Absolutely.
It is really looking like it could be the season from hell. And maybe we should have noticed that with the Derrick Henry fumbles, a guy that historically holds onto the rock, fumbling it in two massive situations early in the year. Maybe that should have been a red flag or should have been a sign for us, but he deserves benefit of the doubt. I think Lamar deserves benefit of the doubt, but there's a lot of things stacked up against them to be able to bounce back this season. I'm not writing them off because it's only week 4.
Stinks.
But
the division stinks.
That as well, right? The division's bad. I think the Steelers might actually be equally bad 3-1 team as the Jags. So that plays in the Baltimore Ravens' favor, but I don't know. They've got some work to do these next couple weeks.
I'm right with you. Real quick, just to finish up, but I don't think that there's much to talk about. Niners at Rams, Thursday Night Football. The Niners have an absolute laundry list of injuries where it looks like Brock Purdy might not play, Juwan Jennings might not play, Ricky Pearsall might not play, and it looks like that the Rams are just running into them at the right time. So I would be very shocked if the Rams don't win this game convincingly.
I'm looking at the injury report on ESPN right now, and it does list Brock Purdy, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall all as out.
Oh, it's already confirmed.
It says on ESPN right now, it says they're all out.
Well, yeah, they're cooked. So I don't know. It's sitting at 7 right now. I don't think I think
that makes sense, right? Like if they were all playing, that number would be like 2, 3 maybe.
A pick 'em.
So, somewhere in there, yeah. But 7 seems to be confirmed that there's guys that I'm not.
No, you're right.
Reading this improperly.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Yeah, right. This is, right. and on the flip side, the Rams are on fire. Puka Nacua looks like the best wide receiver in the NFL at this point. Yeah.
He definitely does. So, like, not too much to touch on there, just because of the amount of injuries. But if something drastic happens in that game, then we'll circle back to that at that time.
Yeah, if the Niners pull this off, it's a Shanahan absolute masterclass with Mac Jones at the helm and no wideouts.
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. But I don't know if he can do it. If he had like a wide receiver, I would feel a little bit better. But it's good.
Robinson.
If you have Christian, those guys are great. If you have Christian McCaffrey, though, you're probably in a good spot as far as him getting every touch and 20 targets.
Tough season for the 49ers. All right, brother.
Yeah, there's multiple. I was going to say there's multiple teams that are trending into season from hell.
Hey, season from hell rankings next week. Make sure you're
That's prepared. Right. I'll be ready.
All right, peace.
All right, I have to go watch the Yankees lose to the Red Sox and the season be over, and it'll finally put me out of my misery.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, they were Ben Rice hit a 2-run homer, and then they just gave up a a 2-run single, so it's tied at the bottom of the third. So I'm going to go hate watch the Yankees.
Good luck,
Thanks.
brother.
Go
Peace.
Birds.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring it back, man, and take vision.